The first sign that something was wrong was not what my husband said. It was what he did not say. After 31 years of marriage, I knew the difference. Some people think silence is empty, but it is not. Silence can carry fear, secrets, and truths too painful to speak out loud. The evening my husband came home from a medical appointment and barely spoke a word. The entire house felt different. My husband, Raymond, was never a talkative man. He believed actions mattered more than words. Everything we owned existed because of those actions. Back in 1987, he started a trucking business with one used truck and a dream that most people would have laughed at. While he drove routes during the day, I handled invoices and bookkeeping at night from our kitchen table. We sacrificed vacations, sleep, and comfort to build something meaningful. Year after year the business grew. By the time our son, Ethan, was a teenager, we had a fleet of trucks serving customers across multiple counties. We never lived extravagantly. We stayed in the same house, drove practical vehicles, and focused on creating stability instead of showing off. Everything we had came from hard work. 3 weeks after that strange evening, Raymond finally told me the truth. We sat at our dining room table. The same table where we had signed paperwork for our first mortgage and celebrated countless holidays. His hands trembled slightly as he spoke. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors had already given him a timeline. For nearly a month, he had carried that burden alone, because he needed time to accept it himself before sharing it with me. The words hit me like a truck, my chest tightened and the room seemed smaller. Still, I reached across the table, held his hand, and listened. That was how we handled life together. We listened first, even when the truth shattered our world. Then Raymond said something I never expected. He told me he needed me to remove my name from our shared financial accounts and open new accounts solely under my control. He wanted every dollar transferred immediately. I stared at him, completely confused. When I asked why, he took a long breath before answering. He explained that our daughter-in-law, Vanessa, had been contacting company lawyers and asking questions about ownership, inheritance, and succession plans. Hearing that felt almost as painful as the diagnosis itself. Vanessa had been married to Ethan for 6 years. During that time I had done everything possible to welcome her into our family. I attended birthdays, hosted holidays, and overlooked countless moments that made me uncomfortable because I wanted peace. Yet deep down, Raymond and I had both noticed something troubling. Vanessa always seemed interested in what people owned, what they earned, and what they might inherit someday. When Raymond told me he believed Ethan would follow her lead if things became ugly, my heart broke. The hardest part was not distrusting her. It was realizing he no longer trusted our son to stand on his own. The following week, I followed Raymond's instructions exactly. Every account was transferred, every document was updated. He sat beside me with reading glasses perched on his nose, carefully reviewing each confirmation number. When everything was finished, he sealed a handwritten letter inside an envelope and handed it to me. He told me not to open it until I truly needed it. I tucked it away in the pocket of an old winter coat and forgot about it for the moment, never realizing how important it would become. Less than 2 months later, Raymond was gone. He passed away quietly on a Sunday morning while I held his hand. The hospital room smelled faintly of lavender soap because I had brought some from home. He hated hospitals and I wanted at least one familiar scent around him during his final days. Afterward I drove home alone. The silence inside the house felt overwhelming. Every room carried memories. Every object reminded me of him. That night I sat in his favorite chair until sunrise, unable to sleep. The next day Ethan called. He sounded emotional and said all the things a grieving son should say. He told me he loved me and mentioned that he would come by later in the week so we could sort through some things together. At first, I thought nothing of it. It seemed reasonable. Families have to handle practical matters after a death. But when Wednesday arrived, I immediately knew something was wrong. Ethan did not come alone. Vanessa was beside him, and with them was a sharply dressed attorney carrying an expensive leather portfolio. My son could barely look me in the eye as he introduced the man. I invited them inside because I honestly did not know what else to do. We sat at the dining room table, and within minutes the lawyer began discussing estate matters and business interests as if my husband had been gone for months instead of days. I stopped him immediately. Raymond had been dead for less than 48 hours. I had not even finished planning his memorial service. Vanessa remained calm and composed throughout the conversation. Too calm. She spoke about transparency, transition plans, and the future of the company. Every word sounded rehearsed, every sentence felt calculated. Eventually I realized exactly what was happening. They were not there to support me. They were there to evaluate what they believed might soon belong to them. Anger surged through me. I stood up, looked directly at all three of them, and ordered them out of my house. Nobody argued. They simply left. Ethan had been left a protected trust containing a minority share of the business. But it could not be accessed until later in life and could never be claimed by a spouse. At the bottom of the page, Raymond had added a final note in different ink. He wrote that he had seen this coming long ago but never wanted to believe it was real. Several weeks later, Ethan sat across from me in our family attorney's office without Vanessa beside him for the first time. He looked exhausted, older somehow. When he admitted he had not known about the medical office leak, I believed him. I expected to feel rage in that moment. Instead, I felt sadness. Not because of the money or the legal battles. I felt grief for the son I remembered raising. The little boy who once admired his father, the young man who used to know right from wrong. Somewhere along the way he had stopped making difficult choices and started letting someone else make them for him. That realization hurt more than any courtroom battle ever could. Today, I still own and oversee the company Raymond built. We have more trucks than ever before. I know the names of our drivers and employees. I work closely with a leadership team Raymond helped put into place before his death. Even in his final months, he was planning ahead, making sure I would never face everything alone. 8 months after Raymond passed away, Ethan and Vanessa divorced. The night it became official, he called me. We talked for hours. We are not completely healed, and maybe we never will be, but we are speaking honestly again, and that matters. Sometimes healing begins with something as simple as telling the truth. There are still mornings when I reach across the bed before remembering Raymond is gone. There are still moments when grief arrives without warning. Yet I have learned something important from everything that happened. Real love is not just affection. Real love prepares, it protects. Last week Ethan called again. We talked about ordinary things. The weather, a restaurant he liked, a funny memory about his father. It was not a dramatic conversation. It was not life-changing, but it was honest. After everything we survived, honest feels like enough.